with InterLink Engineering. Your host today as well. I'm the director of engineering here. Typically, I try to do, for those who haven't been to a SWUG in a while, or maybe ever, I've been trying to do kind of at least a small presentation each time of tips and tricks. Got to say though, this time I'm popping out a little. We had some people out sick, and I was too busy to really put together a whole presentation. So I'm going to rely on you guys a little bit. We're going to experiment with this at least. I figured what we can maybe do is somebody can bring up maybe an issue they've been having with SolidWorks, and I'll do my best to solve it live, or at least kind of demonstrate some things about it. And then worst case, if this doesn't work at all, then we'll move on to the next presenter and we'll all get out of here earlier. So it's really a win-win. Does anyone have any like recent SolidWorks? I mean, you could actually have a tip that you just want me to show off, or you can come up here and show off. Or anything in SolidWorks you were recently trying to do that you were having trouble doing, or something I could maybe show off. Any thoughts? Sure.
So when you have a transparent solid body in SolidWorks,
if
you want to click on it without selecting the thing behind you. And
it's really funny you mentioned that one, because I did that recently on a different presentation.
Last meeting.
Yeah, last meeting I think I did that. But since we're here and all, as a, I guess, point of order to, well, I need a whole assembly. I'm not going to bother. But yes, if you're in an assembly, you can hit Shift, select, and yes, brought up the fact that you can actually reverse that action as well. If you'd like to basically, if you'd like it to default to selecting the transparent face in the settings, I'm sure it's in here. Yeah, that was a great tip. Transparent.
I think the selection is select root transparent.
Okay. I know I've seen it before, because I remember I looked it up afterwards because I was curious. Yeah, so enable, yeah. So you can either disable or enable this depending on which action you want to be by default, and then Shift does the opposite action. So that's funny that you bring up that one tip of well, anyway, that's one. Anyone have any other problems or something they've run into SolidWorks recently that they want opinions on or help with or anything?
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because from my understanding, if you're a current SolidWorks user, you have access to the beta program.
I believe that's the case.
Have you never played in that realm?
I have never downloaded the beta because not to badmouth SolidWorks, but even their stable releases are sometimes feel like betas. I don't particularly want to try a beta.
I just didn't know.
Yeah.
They want feedback from you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Oh Oh sorry. The question was about whether we have access to, if you're a current subscriber, having access to the beta program. I believe that's correct, but I don't know. We've never tried it with the beta program, but it's a good point. It is something that feedback is probably very valuable, and I'm being very selfish by not participating. All right.
I did use 2023 for a little bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
Crashing and failing, and I jumped right back to 22.
Yeah, I don't know if this is similar everywhere, but I know a lot of places. I don't know about you guys, but we're usually a service pack or two at least before we upgrade, because they cram in a lot of new features, which is great, but often that means something broke along the way in our experience. So yeah, we try to go with the most stable versions possible. I try to stick with SP5 as long as possible, basically, till I'm forced. Yeah. All right, last chance. Any other comments or thoughts?
I'm having trouble with changing sketch colors on drawing of the day.
Oh yeah.
Whenever I save it, it's PDF. It just rebuilt.
Interesting. So on a drawing specifically, a sketch color. Yeah, that's a interesting problem. I have not played with that, but that's okay. So on a PDF, so the problem is if you were to make a, I'm just gonna save this out real quick. If you made a drawing and did some sketches, was it like dimension lines or you were making sketches and on a drawing page and then changing colors?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay, so it doesn't really have anything to do with the view. So were you just using the color toolbar or how were you changing colors?
Yeah, there's 2 or 4, I think, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Like color.
yeah. I think I was playing with this one the other day. What I wanted? No. No, I was playing with this the other day, but I don't play with colors that often, so it's not fresh in my mind. So I think that I will have to think about and get back to you on. I don't know. It's interesting that it was letting you change the color, but it was when you saved the PDF, that's when it was giving you the headache.
Yeah, and it also revert on my SolidWorks as well when I save it.
Say that one more time.
And it also revert on my SolidWorks when I save it.
Oh, really? Interesting. Interesting. So it would reset even after, so after you save that PDF, suddenly it wouldn't be read anymore, basically. So if I were to save this PDF, well, if nothing else, maybe this will help you determine if it works here, then it was maybe a specific SolidWorks install problem, or if it fails for me, then
Layers.
could be. It could be. Yeah. Were you playing with layers at all or just colors? Just colors? Yeah, it did work for me. So it might be it might be a opportunity to do the SolidWorks repair and try and let it reinstall. Maybe there's an issue with your SolidWorks. I know.
Setting that from the name of it, but it changes. There's a change in a drawing it marks with a different color.
Oh, are you talking? You're not talking about the line, the color change. Not these ones. You're talking about.
It's like when there's a change, it marks with a different color to highlight.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Like it's not from-
I think that's specific. Does that only work if you're doing using the auto dimension or what are they called again? I forget. I always forget the name of it.
Yeah, that might just be
The imported dimensions or whatever. Yeah.
No, I don't think it's just import.
Model items. That's what I was.
I had to look at this thing to see it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
But if you try just, I don't know if you have registry access, you can get somebody to registry access to doing like the back up the current settings. Like in the settings or these like the defaults, you just make that change like that. And you can see if that's it, probably in the settings. Then you can restore the setting, go one by one.
Yeah. Here's how you reset your settings. Also, definitely something every now and then I've had to play with to try and get some error to fix. So something to think about there.
There's a setting and your current state of reset them all. That's the 4-year-old, right? That
Since we were talking about colors, while I'm here, I'll just mention if for those who don't already play this game, but changing your themes and backgrounds is always something I immediately start doing on my SolidWorks. It's very possible I've talked about it before, but I prefer the classic icon color. So if you hate the new blue and gray, that'll take you back to the yellow and green in the classic days. And then you can also, obviously this one's already in dark mode, but you can go from light mode to dark mode if you're trying to save your eyes. And on the background, you can change it to, dark gray background or whatever you want. Did I hit the wrong one? I probably did. Oh, I forgot to tell it. Yeah, you just got to tell it to be plain. And then your background color, and it should change over. So now I've got a gray background and a dark menu here. So that's how I prefer to do it anyway. Thought I'd give you that one for free since we're here. Any other questions or thoughts? Yeah.
Let's say you're importing something from a different software, that's maybe a Sketch or a Solid, or you could include both. How do you align it in SolidWorks if that original sketch isn't coming in aligned?
Oh yeah. Okay.
to the import system?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. So the question is, anyone didn't hear that, kind of doing import geometry, and I'm like trying to find if I have like a model I can import very quickly. How to better align your imported geometry if the models or if the planes, I think is what you're getting at, are in funky positions or something.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't think there's one perfect answer. A lot of times I think you can on the simplest cases, I think it's just a matter of kind of reorienting where the imported planes are to like an assembly or something, and twisting that. But on the most complicated ones, I've spent a decent amount of time just setting up reference geometry. I guess that's something I can go over real quick. This is not a good model to have reference geometry. It's so simple, but setting up your own planes, whether it's so if for example, if the planes were totally off in the middle of nowhere for this part, I could select these two flat pieces and get reference planes here to have center planes created, so I could reorient the part about those centered planes. You can also do things like axes for the same thing. If I want my origin around a hole, selecting axes, and sometimes the hole geometry, as you all know, also, I'm sure when you import step files and stuff, they're almost never really holes. They're like two semicircles. So a lot of times what I'll do is, if I remember offhand, I'll sketch on a circle, and then to get my axes, so then I can use that, because otherwise it
Once
doesn't
you
give you a
make
proper
the
axis.
reference geometry, how do you align it to your reference geometry?
Oh yes, good question. Okay. Let me think about how to probably a couple.
You said your standard views.
Reset standard views.
Yeah.
Is that a command?
Also, you just move copy body, it's a single part.
That's what I was gonna show. Yeah, the move copy body is a good way to would circle back to your thing in a second, Bobby. But so a lot of times people don't realize you can use move copy body just like mates you would in assemblies, except not the really complicated mates, but at least simple mates. So if I had two bodies here and wanted to do, in fact, I'll just create one really quick. And wanted to, you can use move copy body to move things around in a multi-body, which if you're doing imported stuff, often you will end up with multi-bodies. So I don't know this is 100% answering your question, but hopefully it's getting there. And if I did, so let's actually look at these axes for a second. So say I wanted to move this part to be aligned with this other part. I've got an axis here and I've got planes, so I could do the move copy body and select that body to move, and essentially treat now this just like assembly mates, and say I want this axis to be coincident to that plane, which I'm really hoping actually works. Axes to this thing. I wasn't expecting this not to work. Wonder if it doesn't let you use that reference geometry.
I had it to where I can use it. So I
Right.
can put it on the outside cylinder.
Oh. Oh. Hold on. You're saying just select the outside cylinder?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do at least do tangents, I guess, that way. There, I thought I don't know why it's not letting me use, well, theoretically, I think you can use that reference geometry, but I'm gonna hold off on that for now since I was having trouble with it. But anyway, move copy body being one of the ways you can do it. Now, Bobby, you were saying there was another thing?
In your UI shop, top in the middle there, or
In my U,
right, left, right. Right.
Oh. Oh, you're talking about,
Yeah, just put right there. View orientation.
yeah,
If you go ahead and go with the little double arrow beside there. You can use the third one from the right on the top. Update your standard views, and then you can say, okay, which view is this? So if you've got it oriented separately, you can say that's my front view.
I
That's
see.
what I want to do. So,
I see. Okay. That's interesting. That's a good tip. I've never seen that one. I've never done that rather, I should say.
yeah, so
Yeah,
use that as your front view. You just go ahead and do it.
okay. Yeah, let me go back. Let me pull that up again. So you can say update standard view, and then now it's saying,
Select your front view from the icons down below.
okay. And
Now,
then
if you're
you'll,
drawing, that's gonna be your front view. Or if you put a front view from anything else, it'll go ahead and make that your front view.
right, gotcha. So theoretically, yeah, command one. Okay, very cool. Yeah, that's a nice little tip there. Perfect.
So flip normals would you just flip the normal of the plane? If it was coming in wrong.
Yeah, so I think I think you mean if you explain bigger. So if I go normal to this, but it's always pointing the wrong way,
Yeah.
you're saying, yeah, do flip normal, and now when I go normal to that plane again.
But now did that change your front plane orientation since you've assigned that to your front plane?
I don't think so, because I don't think I actually I didn't assign that plane to be my view. I just assigned what I was currently looking at, I think, as being, and I should have, like, I could make it any view, I think is what you're saying, right, Bobby?
You would do the flip first and then do something.
Yeah, so like I could make this view my front view, I think is what you're saying, right, Bobby? So, if I open that menu again, which I could poorly. So standard orientation. So now this is my front view.
Now, if you go to the icon right, you're right, you got everything. Oriented based off that. Your front.
That means, okay. Well, when I go, oh, but that's just the plane, that's why, yeah. But yeah, when I hit control one, because I'm going to front plane, now this is my, yeah, I see what you're saying, yep.
So for your drawing, this is what will show up.
Right, yeah, and all these views are now, that's really interesting, I've not tried that before.
If you would export that stuff of that, those bodies, would they maintain what you changed to in terms of the orientation or?
Good question there. I didn't-
So it's similar to go back to probably going off the axis system and not that you so I revert. You can.
Because I noticed the axis, little icon lower left. Staying.
Yeah, it stays with its original product right at the top. For what improvement there was made to the coordinate system, but there might have been something out of the coordinate system where you can add your own coordinates, maybe export using that, but I'm not sure.
And it did, he's right, yeah, when I reverted, so now this is my front view on my imported geometry. I just imported what we were asking.
But you could, if you had it for the geometry, and use the copy bodies, to get it onto the oriented, right, you could technically re-export it, re-import, get rid of that, put the copy bodies, have that like this.
Yeah, true, yeah, good point. Yeah, if I had done more something like, yeah, just translated this where I wanted it to be in relation to the thing, export it and import it. To your point, the axes would now be in that new location, right? That's kind of what you're saying. Well, anyway. Okay. I think that was, I know I learned a thing or two, so hopefully everyone else did. Anything else before we move on to the next presenter? All right, Sounds good.